Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙑𝙍𝙍. Today, we have a very exciting episode as we are joined today with Growing Stronger's very own co-parent founder, Munira, and her son, along with Ahmir's, Ahmin. Thank you both for joining us today. Today, we are going to be talking about Munira and Ahmin and their families' experience in going through a clinical trial. Ahmin has been or was part or is part of a clinical trial and has been for several years now. And so we're very excited to kind of just get to know more about that. We know there are many families that we have in our Growing Stronger parent support groups that are constantly asking other parents, what's it like to be involved in a clinical trial? How do you get involved and everything like that? And so that's why we are so lucky to be joined, to discuss that today. So to start off, first, Ahmin and Munira, thank you for, of course, joining us. I know it's different for you guys to not be behind the scenes this time. And so just to start off, Ahmin, can you sort of tell us a bit about yourself? Let us know or let members of the Growing Stronger community know a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, as Channing said, my name's Ahmin. I've been in the trial for about 3 years now, coming up, I think a little bit over 3 years. And yeah, it's been a pretty, let's call it an experience, being in the trial. Like, it was very new to me at first, having to get an injection every day, but I've gotten used to it. So yeah, and then generally more about my personal life. I'm homeschooled. I'm 14 years old. I'm homeschooled. I go to West Valley Community College, which is our local community college. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now.
Cool. Can I ask what college classes you're taking?
I'm taking a biology class at the moment.
Cool. I always liked math and science. Munira, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, Chandler. Thank you so much for having us in this episode of 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙍𝙍. I'm Munira. I am Ahmin's mom. Our family has been living in the San Francisco Bay Area for 20 plus years. Ahmin is my middle child, and he was diagnosed with achondroplasia at age 9 months, and that set off our family's parenting journey as well as our nonprofit Growing Stronger's journey.
So, Ahmin, well, this first question is for both of you. We've known, or you said, Munira, that it's been a journey, as I know, and as you know, it is for many parents of a newly diagnosed child with achondroplasia. It's always a journey, and something that's different, I would say, compared to my own parents' journey versus yours and Ahmir's journeys as parents of a child with achondroplasia is through Ahmin's childhood and now treat the potential possibility of a treatment was on the horizon, and now there is one. And obviously we know you guys are involved or were involved in that and got involved in the trial. So when did you first, what does the trial and being in the trial mean to you? And I guess also, when did you first know, like, this is what we want to do and this is what's right for Ahmin and right for our family?
Yeah, so first off, the fact that there is treatment available and more treatments in the pipeline for other children that are Ahmin's age or younger than Ahmin is very promising. And we're very excited. Our families always prioritize Ahmin's health, and so knowing that treatment options are available to address the host of complications that come with the diagnosis is very reassuring. We knew that what is currently now Voxzogo, back then it was vosoritide, was in the trials, but we didn't know how to enroll in the trials. And here's where I would like, any parents who are looking to enroll in trials of any kind to listen closely. What I've learned is that the parent has to be the advocate for their child, and not always take no for an answer. So in our case, for example, it took us, knowing someone who knew someone at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital, and us sending out several emails. And, this is 10 plus years ago. And just hoping that somebody in the trials, or somebody in the organizing of the trials would get back to us, which they eventually did, and they found a spot for Ahmin. But the way as trials go, they're not always widely publicized, and they don't have an unlimited number of spots. So in that sense, we were lucky. We got in. We started in 2013, started with the natural history study, which went on for a couple years. And then, that morphed into phase 2 and phase 3 of the trials. And here we are today. And I believe phase 3 extension is what it is called now, with Ahmin, doing just being on the drug known after having been through 1 year of placebo or not intake.
What would you say, or I guess Ahmin, what was, I guess for you, what was it like being in the trial? Like, was it meaningful for you in any sort of way, or being someone with achondroplasia, was it just kind of like this is just my day to day? As I know, that's probably how I would feel. I probably wouldn't see the full meaning of it, if you know what I mean. But just to ask, what does it mean for you, kind of making history for those coming up after you, and knowing that, you're part of this big research? What does that mean to you?
Well, yeah, I saw it as an opportunity. I didn't know exactly how the drug would affect me, specifically, because it is different effects on different people, in terms of making them taller. So for some people with achondroplasia, it might work more effectively than others. So, but I was kind of excited because I knew that, I knew this was progress. It was progress towards, hopefully one day being able to eradicate any risk of medical complications going with achondroplasia, and basically making it so it was making me safer, and people with achondroplasia for generations safer as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be enrolled, because I know that now that a drug has gone to market, there's a lot of families that are struggling with insurance and trying to get on the drug. So the fact that we were in the trials and Ahmin was taking it, I think Ahmin might have started at age 8 but after the natural history study started when you were 5.5. But then you started the placebo year when you were what, 8.5 or 9, and here you are.
Well, I thought I started taking the drug when I was 11.
The placebo year?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there was a long period of natural history study.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fact that we were still able to start it when we did, as opposed to later in Ahmin's teen years, when we might have missed out on most of his years of growth. It's just, we consider ourselves fortunate to have been in earlier.
Yeah, and I know, I kind of think sometimes we don't think anything of it because we you guys were in it, and we talk with a lot of people who are in trials, but you guys have made history. You are a part of change in history. It's really exciting when you kind of think about it. So leads to the next question. What does the cost benefit analysis of participation, or what was the cost benefit analysis of participation in the trial?
Yeah, when we were first invited to go from natural history, which is of course when Ahmin would go in and just be measured, so he wasn't taking any drug. to participating in the drug phase, out of the natural history study and go beyond that. We were nervous, and the first time around when we were invited, we turned the invitation down because we were not sure of the risks that the drug entailed. You have to understand, our family does not have any prior experience of having participated in any drug trials. And so, we weren't sure if we wanted to give our child a brand new medication that hadn't been tested and tried. And we weren't sure if we wanted to, inject our child every day. But then I think we gradually became comfortable with the idea. And now I can't even recall when we actually, when we fully enrolled. I think it might have been in 2015 or 16. But by that time, the drug had been around for a little while. And so we became comfortable with the idea. Some other more enthusiastic participants had stepped forth before us. And so we just eased into it at a time when we became comfortable with the idea of taking a brand new drug.
So talking about, mentioning, becoming comfortable with it and everything, obviously that had to sort of change your whole, routine, your family routine and everything, I'm assuming. So how would you say, you've managed to keep a routine or schedule of the daily injections? Because, for however many years of your life you weren't, and then boom, one day you're starting, hey, you've got to take an injection every day. How does that impact your just day-to-day schedule?
I think things have gotten easier as Ahmin has become older and taken more responsibility. And things have also gotten easier because now it is taking the daily injection has become part of our daily routine. But in the beginning, it felt like a lot of work. First, remembering to do it felt like a lot of work. Keeping the daily diary felt like a lot of work. Traveling with the medication felt like effort because there is the sterile water, there is the medication itself, there is the syringe to inject with, the alcohol swabs. It's quite a bit of a collection. So at home, it meant, finding a space in the house to store and save everything, putting the medication in the refrigerator. But they have also, over time, we got used to it. Ahmin grew. And then also the kind of supplies that we're being given have also become more sophisticated. So whereas in the past, we had to draw the sterile water out into a syringe, now, the water comes in pre-made syringes. So we just have to, stab the medicine bottle with the prepared water, and it's exactly measured to the amount that we need to add. So there's a little less thinking and, maybe one less step that makes it easier. And now, because Ahmin's older, he'll offer to, he's actually now officially allowed to inject himself. So that's like one less step for me, one more, step for him. So we've sort of divided the work also. So it's become part of our routine now. And sticking to doing it at one time of the day, every day, also makes it doable.
And what was it like for you, I guess, compared, when you first started the trial compared to now, and being, able to do the injections yourself, whereas I'm sure your mom or dad or, other adult in the household probably had to do that for you?
Well, to be honest, it's not like completely different. It was just took some time to get used to, because when I initially had to inject myself, it was very surprising. I'd never done anything like that before. So yeah, it took some time to get used to, but now I'm pretty much doing it on a daily basis.
Cool. What would advice would you give to children today who because now that Voxzogo is available, kids are getting it. What advice would you give to them, when they start that journey of having injections for the first time and having them daily? Is there any sort of advice you would, give to a child who's starting that journey?
I guess my advice would be, it is quite annoying at first. It does get very tedious, and it's not fun. It is painful, right? But I guess my advice would be in terms of like the actual injection itself. I mean, like you get used to it. Like it eventually just becomes something that just happens, and then for as to why, if you're ever wondering why do we have to do this, why do I have to do this? I mean, really, does differ from person to person because some people might not think it's worth it. Some people might think this in taking an injection every day, being in this study or buying this drug, like it's not worth it. Like it's not worth it for me to get taller just for the it's not worth all this for me just to get taller. But for me personally, I found it that taking the injection and the processes around doing that, like going to long trips of opening that me and my mom used to do. Like in my mind, I was always thinking about it and saying, yeah, in the long term, I know this will help me. This will help reduce probability of medical complications in the future, and it will probably improve my overall quality of life moving forward. So yeah, that was really just my perspective. Like power through. It hurts. It's fine, but you get through it. You'll get through it.
And that was great. And obviously, we're in the month of October and it is, Dwarfism Awareness Month. So just in the spirit of that, what advice also would you give for any child or anyone with achondroplasia or any form of dwarfism? And it doesn't really have to be anything related to if they're in any sort of treatment or trial, but just kind of advice in general, since you live with achondroplasia, what would you give to the child or anyone who experiences bullying? What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, something that I'd say is probably just so yes, we are different. Like Chandler, me, you, and everyone else with dwarfism. We are different. We are a minority. I believe it was 1 in 25,000. Right. So sometimes, yes, we do feel alone, but hopefully you have people in your life who support you, people in your life who are there with you, and just rely on those people, depend on those people. You have parents, you have siblings, you have adults, cousins, your family, your friends. Rely on those people, lean on those people, the people around you, your support system. And yeah, maybe join other programs where you can meet other people like you with achondroplasia or with any kind of dwarfism, right? That's how we met you. And so yeah, just it's tough. I know you're different. We're all different. We are a minority, but now get through it. Now we can get through it.
Munira, what advice would you give to, would say, parents who are wanting to maybe start that journey of, going into a clinical trial, or just what advice would you give to parents, new parents of children in general, with children with who either, have achondroplasia or newly diagnosed with achondroplasia?
I'd say don't feel alone. You're not the only one in this journey. There is a community out there. Growing Stronger is a community. Little People of America is a community. There's many other communities that you can be a part of. And, individuals have been diagnosed with achondroplasia throughout history. And today's science has learned to make things easier and better. Whether or not you decide to give your child therapeutic options, that's entirely your choice. But there are many, many ways of thriving and doing well with achondroplasia, and it's being done. So lean into those people who can guide you into living a positive life with achondroplasia. And then secondly, always be your child's advocate. You know your child best, and you have your child's interest at heart. So be proud, be brave, and be strong, and pursue what makes sense to your good judgment that's driven by science, research, and love.
I love that. Before I get to the last question, I do know we have several people who are on with us live, and so I just want to nudge them again and say, if you have any questions specifically for Ahmin and Munira, feel free to submit in the chat box or the Q&A box, and we will ask them. But so before that, what is again, you guys are growing stronger, and in general, what now is your overall hope just for the future of, I would say, achondroplasia, skeletal dysplasia, dwarfism? What's your hope for achondroplasia, just to keep it simple, and then your hope for growing stronger?
Can I?
Go ahead.
So yeah, my hope for the long-term future, and hopefully sooner rather than later, is that for most all skeletal dysplasias, that the medical complications are pretty much eradicated. The medical complications aspect, right? For scoliosis, achondroplasia, and all little people, anything that has to do with that will impair your overall quality of life, right? And things that will impair your health, your well-being. That is, I hope, yes, we are different and we will always be different, but that's okay. But how do I say, what is basically affecting our health, all of that is gone, right? That's the overall, that would be the ideal situation, and hopefully that comes sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
Well, my hopes and aspirations for achondroplasia and for growing stronger are 3 points. Number one, that as we move forward in this new space of therapeutics, we embrace a posture of respect for diversity of opinion, and that we allow families to determine the best possible outcome for their individual with achondroplasia, and that we respect each other's viewpoints in the process. Number two, as the tagline behind you, Chandler, says science empowering health and education, we want growing stronger. And I know, Chandler, you had the Chandler Project, both of those organizations, to sort of be in the know and be amongst those that promote research around skeletal dysplasia, so that, as Ahmin said, individuals' quality of life improves. And finally, growing stronger is personally vested in reducing inequality in a global perspective. So a lot of Growing Stronger's work is centered around providing education and science resources to individuals in parts of the world where the kind of clinical treatments that we are totally take for granted in the United States can also become readily, or at least somewhat easily, available to individuals with achondroplasia.
And, going back to kind of what you had said at the start of this, answering this question about, or the last question, what advice would you give for parents, saying you're not alone? And I think that's important for our audience. I think a majority of Growing Stronger's audience, or a lot of them are US based, but we have Growing Stronger does have a good number of members who aren't in the US. And for those members who are not in the US, know that you too are not alone, even though we know you probably feel very isolated, feeling like you don't have the means and resources, but you're not alone. And it is Growing Stronger's mission to hopefully help empower you and your local community, to get these resources and information. And so, Growing Stronger, again, is there for everyone to help grow stronger. But last, if there's any of our members who are on right now, if you have questions, please feel free to submit. I know some jumped on kind of later, but this was recorded and we will have it posted to our Growing Stronger YouTube channel and everything, in case you missed the beginning of it. But other than that, any last remarks from you two before, I guess, we sign off for the evening or the afternoon?
What am I gonna say? No, happy Dwarfism Awareness Month.
Good. Well, thank you again both for joining us. It was definitely a treat to kind of, I see obviously Growing Stronger behind the scenes every day, but I feel like it's a treat for our community to see, the behind the scenes of Growing Stronger and the family behind it. So thank you again for joining us.
Okay. Bye, Chandler.
Bye.